My name is George Frey. Date is 10/11/2014. This is all taking place down at Raeford for the museum.
And my name is Sue Frey. Same date, same place, same time.
So, to start, I started jumping 1967, right here on the same property we are sitting on at Raeford. Gene Paul had this place even before the runway was paved. I made about 40 jumps down here, and then after that got out of the service, went back home to New Jersey, and started over at Lakewood Parachute Center, which was owned by Jacques Istel and Lou Sanborn. I spent, I guess about 3 years there. Did my first 500 jumps there in Jersey. And then we had a little incident with a plane. That put me out of commission for about 2 years. I'll just stop right there. It's enough said for that. Came back into the sport with a vengeance and just kept jumping. Lakewood then went out of business, so I started several other drop zones up in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York with the ranch, the herd in New Jersey. And several years later, Sue and I met, 1989. So she decided she wanted to make a jump. But several of her friends just wouldn't come out with her. So this is the point where we start dating.
We actually met on a blind date. Mutual friends of ours thought it would be cool for me to meet this guy, and she said, well, he's a skydiver. I said, oh, that's pretty cool. It's something I always wanted to do. So my very first experience with skydiving was 1989. There was this thing called paraski. So it was half the competition was jumping out of a helicopter at about 20 degrees on a mountain, and the second half was skiing. So I thought, well, I know how to ski, so I'll do the second part. But anyway, this was actually before I started jumping, but I thought that's pretty cool. Well, I like that. So my very first experience was kind of like, these guys are nuts. It's really cold, and they're jumping out of these helicopters and landing in the snow. But anyway, so then in the spring of that next year, I went to my very first Pops meet, which was in Umatilla, Florida. It was the famous spring meet that they had every year for many years. And that's when I did my first tandem. And George was also a photographer, so he took some pictures. And I also had the very famous and very cute Mike McGowan for my photographer. So that was one of the highlights, and I always keep telling him that. But I think when I landed, I was sort of speechless, and he came over and he's sort of looking at me like, what's what? And I said, I got to do this again. So anyway, that was the start. We came back to New Jersey, and I started training, went through the AFF, and basically that's how our relationship started, and I think that we've stuck together over 20 years. A lot because of skydiving and just meeting great people and traveling and just experiencing the camaraderie and the laid-back competition and all that good stuff. And I think I have probably two very interesting and memorable experiences for me. Was again at one of the Pops meets in 2002, I think it was.
They whipped our butt.
It was it was a scrambles, 4-way scrambles, and generally skydiving, as it came up through the ranks, was a good old boy sport. Some women involved, but just so happened that we happened to pick through the scrambles, names out of a hat, 4 women, and also our videographer was a woman. So we had a women's, basically 4-way team, and we kicked their butt. So normally after 3 rounds you maybe turned 8 points total with these scrambles, and I think it was 24 points. So anyway, that was a very, very very high time. I always sort of
Rub it
put
in.
him in his
Rub
place
it
at
in.
times.
Rub it in just a little bit.
And
That's okay.
it was great fun, and everybody really got into it, and it was just, you know, a great thing to tell other women. You skydive? Yes. And guess what? You can
Tell them your other teammates' names.
Well, it was Alicia Moorhead and Donna
Shimolisky.
and Jane. I can't remember her last name, but it was really one of the highlights. And other jump that was very memorable was 2009.
Yep,
Was that at where we live, Fernandina Beach, Florida. They had the Collins Foundation had some old World War II planes. One was a B-17, the 909, and we were lucky enough to get a seat on it and jump out of the bomb bay doors. So that was just absolutely thrilling to do that, but also to actually sit in that airplane and just sort of reflect on just that this was actually, you know, part of our history, and the men that served and, you know, sat in this, and we got to look out the turret, and just putting that big heavy seat belt on, and just it was just an incredible, just still gives me goosebumps of just having a tiny little bit of history that you can actually sit in and feel and take off and just see the sights. And then we had to climb down in the actual metal
Bombay.
The framing. Of course they took everything out, and they opened the Bombay doors, and you look down, and you're a bomb. And that was a very good experience. The jumping part, and like I said, just the history part, and so and I think just generally it's just the seeing people when we go to these different events. Maybe we haven't seen for a year or so, and just catching up with life, and
becomes a reunion every year.
Yep. So, and we just, you know, I think we just have a great life because of skydiving. And you have to talk about your.
I will continue with this now. She has talked about all of her highlights. I guess I was involved in that scrambles also, which I had to listen to all the way home. How they beat us. They demolished us.
Okay, that's enough.
That's enough of that. Okay. And I've got right now I've got 3,600 jumps. Just getting ready to touch on my 48 hours. And another one to highlight, of course, was the Joe Kittinger jump, 50-way jump at DeLand 4 years ago, for the 50th anniversary of his jump in 1960. I got on the 50-way there, which was very nerve-wracking because I did not want to mess up.
And you got to meet
and the whole thing worked out beautifully. Got to see Joe Kittinger, bought his book, signature, everything. What am I doing? So I'm drawing a little blank right now.
But I'm going to say your SOS. All your SOS stuff.
Oh, all right. We've also
what happens when you get... No, I was kidding.
When I get older. So I've also been on several of the world record for the SOS jumps, or out between DeLand and California, back and forth every year. And that has been an absolute highlight. Meeting, again, new jumpers from different countries, different states, meeting old friends again, new friends. And we're going to be heading back out there again this coming April. And Sue is...
We're going to try to do a women's 60 SOS, so hopefully I can be a part of that. The 60 or 70 ways are a little too much, too aggressive for me. So looking forward to, again, just being involved with all that and seeing some of the old timers and the new timers that are just turned 60. In that respect, you know, being 60, you're a youngin'.
That's right, kid.
So.
And my daughter is also out there too, so we like to see her. She will come down, I hope, to see the whole event also, as she has done in the past. And she has made a tandem a number of years ago. She got married, wanted to make a tandem, said, no, I'm going to raise a family first. Raised the family and says, George, well, I'm going to jump now. And she did.
And his son did too, same thing.
Oh, he's got 4 jumps now.
But they
4
kind of
tandems.
grew up on the
Oh, they did. They
on
grew
the
up
drop zone.
They grew up on the drop zone, so it was inevitable. And coming here to the museum, this is our third trip to the museum.
Right, we missed the last couple of
Yes.
years just because of logistics.
And this has always been a highlight. I didn't even get to jump this weekend.
It doesn't matter.
But just coming out here, seeing people I have not seen in a long time, meeting new people, interacting again with everybody.
And with the the pioneers that we
Right.
see on all of the literature and the signs, it's so true. These pioneers are they're just legends in this sport. You know, I've never jumped a round parachute, but they've paved the way for me to not have to slam into the ground and,
Yes.
you know, and worrying about where I'm going to land under a round canopy. And I often think of that, and I think some of the newbies that are coming in, if they could just sit back and just think about these true pioneers in this sport and what they've had to go through with. He talks about his taking gear that he bought off a shelf for $30-40 and taking out a panel and adding lines and doing this. So that's what I think is so, it's just so thrilling to meet so many of these, like I said, true pioneers. And just what and when you hear the stories, you may have heard them several times, but it's just thrilling and just so humbling at times. So.
And to add to that, I was asked several times by some new jumpers here, what type of jumps did I do up to? In other words, free fall, accuracy, the belly to earth, and now in the last 20 years it's head down, wingsuits, bridge jumps. What's the next? And who knows what it's going to be in another 20 years. What new discipline is going to take what is now and be a new discipline in 10, 20 years? We can't imagine.
Right, we can't imagine.
Until it happens.
But like I said, where I'm at right now, it's just so thrilling to just meet the guys and girls that just really virtually started it all for us.
I'm sort of in the second generation of the skydiving.
You went through a lot of
from the 60s,
transitions.
the 50s.
He's telling me about this triangle parachute. I said, "Are you nuts? A parachute that's a triangle?" So that's
the one I'm going to give to the museum. I bought it off of Steve Snyder after the Army rejected it because it was not a good accuracy canopy. But it was a great interim canopy between Paracommander and the square. But it was a disaster in itself. But it was still a fun thing. I had about 150 jumps on it. Tried accuracy and said, never again. Just swoop in. That's it. Don't.
But that's what it took to get us to where we are with these phenomenal squares that can be as big as a handkerchief and land somebody that's maybe 180 pounds. So that's, it took these guys and just to get the sport where it is today. And like he said, who knows where it's going? And hopefully we'll be a part of it. At least maybe at some point we might just have to watch. But
it also took you. It took you a little time to get me to start upgrading on certain equipment. When booties came out, you're the first one that bought booties. When the full face helmet out, you bought it.
Right.
Then you're trying to tell me, George, booties work.
Right.
And I'm saying, I'm doing good enough this way.
But you could do so much better.
Well, finally I gave in, bought a full face, got booties, got a smaller canopy, and I thanked her profusely all the time for keeping me in line, helping me out.
Get with the new stuff.
Yes, get with the program, George. So, Mm-hmm. Bye.